Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another episode of Road to Revival. So this week we just got the normal amount of spoilers, and as spoiler season is winding down, some of the cards that we are waiting and anticipating on are getting shown, and some of them are definitely really interesting. So let's get into it and start with something I didn't really expect, which is Stellar Deity Astraeus Rebuddy. Just as one thing to note, he is an Olympus and a star, but obviously based on his effect, he's meant to be in a star deck, and I think he might be good enough where a new star deck without Zodiac might be possible. What the card is doing is stars on your left and right can't be destroyed or bounced, which does include him if you play him on your left and right. And then at the start of each player's attack phase, if you have a star on your left and right, and a star is set on your field, you gain 1 life, draw a card, and for this turn, all stars on your field get plus 10,000 power and plus 10,000 defense and triple attack. That's just a lot, and I don't necessarily think that getting that set up is going to be super hard, but it definitely adds a lot of extra power and consistency to star decks. Overall, he's definitely looking to be pretty good for those players who want to play stars. Next, we have Death Ruler Gallows Rebuddy. So his call cost is put a death from your drop zone into his soul, and then he has Shadow Dive, and he actually gives all cards on your field Shadow Dive. That's already pretty good considering Shadow Dive is a not very commonly seen mechanic, but it is a very powerful mechanic nonetheless, because being able to bypass the opponent's center means you could bypass their first form of defense, which is obviously the monster that's trying to wall you out. The Shadow Dive is already pretty good, and then on top of that, at the start of the attack phase, for this turn, all death on your field get plus 15,000 power, plus 1 crit, and double attack. Obviously, he's meant to be played in a death deck, but death is such a wide archetype in Darkness Dragon World that I could see him being splashed for some other different archetypes that just have death in it. But nonetheless, gaining a crit, double attack, and 1500 power on top of Shadow Dive is already looking to be pretty scary. And then he has his own ability, which is Soul Absorption Chain. When a death on your field attacks and deals damage to an opponent, you gain 2 life and draw a card. Obviously, drawing a card is very good, and gaining 2 life helps you stay in the game. Overall, he's looking to be a pretty solid card. I don't exactly know if a new deck is going to be centered around him, but he definitely feels like he's going to go into any deck that could utilize the death attribute. Next up, we have Uniform Warrior Blazer Frill Rebuddy. So, obviously, she goes into superheroines, but she is looking to be a lot better than just being a new card in superheroines. So, her first initial effect is you could countercall her during each player's attack phase by paying her call cost. Obviously, superheroines, the whole gimmick is to self-bounce, so being able to bounce her and countercall her, again, is already looking to be pretty strong, but being able to countercall her in general, just if you have her in your hand for an extra attacker, is still a pretty good option. And then she has another ability: if a superhero is on your field, reduce the size of this card by 2, and it gets a plus 8,000 power boost and a plus 1 crit boost. Being able to utilize her in any superhero deck is already pretty solid because she becomes a size 0, and the important thing to note is she's not hard locked to being paired up with Masked Vantage, because a lot of the other Blazer Frills were, which really kept them back from being a good splash card in any superhero deck. So that's definitely nice to see that she is definitely looking to be a better card than just another superhero upgrade. But on top of that, she also has another ability: when this card attacks, if you're transformed into a superhero, you draw a card and deal 1 damage to the opponent. So again, just reinforcing the fact that she just wants to be paired up with a superhero and not specifically Masked Vantage, on top of which, obviously, drawing a card and a little bit of extra burn damage is pretty solid, because if you have a superhero on your field, she's a size 0 for crit. That's going to burn the opponent an extra 1 damage and draw you a card, which is already looking to be pretty insane. And then she's got Move and Penetrate just to add icing to the cake. But she is definitely a great addition to, obviously, the superhero in deck, and she is definitely a plausible option of a decent splash card for any other superhero deck, period. Next, we have Jackknife Trust. So this is a set spell in which you can pay 1 life. If you do, put a monster with Jack in its name from your deck or drop zone into your hand, and if you looked into your deck, you get to shuffle it and use it once per turn. So a Jackknife tutor is pretty good, obviously, for Jackknife, but considering the new Jackknife Rebuddy card is a already solid splash in any Dragon World deck that's really lacking an item, because the new Jackknife allows you to go into Grand Thesis really easily, is definitely looking to be pretty good, and this just helps those decks that are splashing him on top of Jackknife's own initial deck. It has another ability: all cards with Jackknife on your field can't have their abilities nullified or their souls drop, and they can't be rested by the opponent's card effects, and you may equip 1 additional item with Jackknife in its card name. That second effect is already doing a lot. Not only is it adding some additional protection to your Jackknife cards, obviously the big target is going to be your Jackknife monsters and either Gold Ritter or Grand Thesis, but the fact that you could equip a second item with Jackknife in its name means you could run any other item and then whatever Jackknife item you want. Obviously, Grand Thesis is going to be the best option, but just being able to equip a second item is a very, very powerful effect. Even if the item is hard-locked to being a Jackknife item, you don't necessarily care because the 2 Jackknife items in the game are actually really good. But this opens up the opportunity for a lot of other decks to add in this little Jackknife splash package and come up with some interesting and powerful card combinations. So I'm really in love with this card, and then obviously its last effect is you can only set 1 of it on your field. That doesn't necessarily matter because the possibilities with this card just open up a lot of variety for a lot of different decks to try to utilize. And then the last card that we got is Quintessential Crystal Dragon Athora Rebuddy. It's another Athora card. It's really good. I don't know what else to really say at this point. Prism Dragons, both the new PC cursors and the original Prism Dragons, they really didn't need this. I mean, obviously it's really good, and I'll go into why it's really good, but I personally don't really think they needed this, and I would have rather seen this Athora just be like a really mediocre to like okay card. Instead, they just got another great and extremely powerful card. What this card does is, if this card is on your center or in the soul of a Prism Dragon, all cards on your field can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and they get plus 5,000 power, plus 5,000 defense, and you can't take damage by your opponent's card effects. Again, more protection is really, really good. Obviously, this goes into both of the Athora decks because it's just referencing Prism Dragons. Both Athora decks can use it, and the additional power and defense never hurts, on top of which it's just doing the basic Athora things on making it so you can't take damage by card effects. That part's already pretty okay, considering Athora does like to build some soul, but what's really powerful is his counteract ability, Crystal Bright. So during each player's attack phase, you could pay 1 life. If you do, call up to 1 size 3 monster with Athora in its name from your deck on top of this card without paying its call cost, and shuffle your deck. This card basically can tutor out whatever Athora you want, which again goes into both Athora decks, PC Cursors and basic Prism Dragons, and it's just absolutely insane because slap a couple of Eternity Rings on it, swing with this card, counter call into one of the other Athoras, continue the aggression, and this card's just actually nuts. And then it's got Move, Double Attack, and Soul Guard. It's just looking to be a very, very good Athora tutor, and it's just probably going to be the best base Athora that the game will ever see because the other Athoras are just really good. So obviously in PC Cursor Athora, it's just adding extra attacks. which that's really what the deck is trying to do. It's a more aggressive version of Athora, and having the countercall option is really good on top of the fact that it tutors out your PC cursor Athora is just absolutely insane. And then in base Athora, you're just trying to use it to go into Overthrow, to use Overthrow to play Overturn. It's just a really powerful card for either Athora decks, and like I said, I don't really think Athora needed it, but it definitely helps both Athora decks in a really big way. So that's all of the spoilers we have for this week. Obviously, spoiler season is winding down as more and more cards get shown, but the set is definitely looking to be very, very powerful, and on top of which, we're finding out where some of the promos are going. A lot of the promos are going to end up as shop promos, and we got the Raging Spirits card as a case topper to Buddy Again Volume 3, which is releasing on the same day. The promos are starting to come out and to be known, so that's definitely one good thing to note. And yeah, that's kind of all I have for this week. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts about the spoilers this week in the comments down below. And feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.